Well, welcome back to Exhaust Sports Auto. My name is Kevin, and you are here to witness the 2021 Chevrolet Camaro 1LS. So, why are we checking this vehicle out? Because this vehicle is most likely going away. I think it's going to be discontinued forever, basically, because nobody's buying it. Everybody has a big mouth on the internet talking about enthusiast cars and manual transmissions and all this stuff, but when it comes down to it, they don't put their money where their mouth is. So, because of that, these vehicles are long gone, essentially. So before that happens, I'm here to check out this 4-cylinder model because this seems to be a model that I feel like most people can budget for. Okay, me personally, I believe the V8, a base model V8 with the 6-speed Tremec is the way to go, the manual. However, nobody's buying that, and I get it. Not everybody can obtain that vehicle because, yeah, even if you can afford to purchase that vehicle, if you're going to be driving a lot, the fuel economy on that is not going to be the best. So you're probably going to be looking into the 4-cylinder or the V6 models because they're still rear-wheel drive. It's still a great platform. It still drives amazing, but you can actually daily it and actually get decent fuel economy with it. And I believe that there is still a lot of great things going on, even with this modest 4-cylinder turbo. So before we get into this review, a little shout out to Mercedes-Benz of Cary because this is actually their vehicle. If you want to purchase this car at about $23,000, I believe, at this dealership, you may do so. It's got about 500 miles on it. I think MSRP for like a base model 1LS like this goes for about $27,000. So with that established, let's go ahead and let's get this thing out on the road. So I believe 2019 was when this vehicle kind of got like this refresh face. Not everybody was fond of the way that this vehicle looked. However, me, I personally did not care either way. I still think it's a pretty decent looking ride. I will say this is like base. So if you are going to go 4-cylinder or V6 or something like that, I do actually recommend you going with a full-on base model. Okay, you're buying this to save money. I get it. That's fine. I will say these wheels, these little 18-inch wheels, they do look a little, not the best, but maybe you can get some aftermarket wheels later on. However, 18-inch wheels will help this thing ride beautifully. Is 245 wide tires in all 4 corners. If you stepped up to the 1LT package, you have the option of getting a track package with 20-inch wheels, all 4 corners, 245s up front, 275s in the rear. I believe that also comes with the Magna Ride suspension out of the SS models. This obviously doesn't have any of that stuff, and again, stepping up to the 1LT, paying $4,500 extra, I just don't really think it's worth it on a 4-cylinder. Okay, this is supposed to be the thrifty option, so I would keep it that way. If you're going to blow more money, get the V8. That's the way to do it. But enough of that. You let me know in the comment section how you think this vehicle looks. I'll talk a little bit more of the practical things in the interior segment because obviously you got the Charger Challenger twins and you got the Mustang. I feel like the Charger and Challenger, perfect if you are a larger person. So if you have troubles fitting into something like this, that's definitely the vehicle to look into. Now on to more pressing matters like this drive here. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. Really, what you're missing out here is the glorious noise, of course. I did actually test out a 2019 Camaro 1SS 1LE package, and it had the NPP exhaust. It crackled and popped like a Jaguar F-Type, and it was incredible. This effortlessly gets up to speed. I mean, speed is not the issue here. What you're lacking is the noise. And I have driven an EcoBoost Mustang, okay? And what I noticed with the EcoBoost Mustang, it's not as smooth and it doesn't really quite sound as decent as this. I mean, this is just, they went for a full smooth 4-cylinder experience, and that's fine. Quieted down a little bit, that's what I like. I think there's an optional exhaust package you can get for the 4-cylinder. Totally skip that. 4-cylinders don't sound that great, so don't enhance the noise. If you're going to do something to this vehicle, okay, what you should do is get an intake because it's turbocharged. You get the little blow-off noise. Now, that's cool. I'll probably look into doing something like that. It's kind of like weird and unexpected for a Camaro or Mustang to make, blow-off sound. So that's another thing to look into with the turbocharged versions of these vehicles. A lot of people say that, because it's got the smaller engine, it's more nimble and the more, least nose heavy and all this stuff. It weighs 200-300 pounds less, all this stuff. That's not, that's not even a noticeable thing, honestly, with these vehicles. I feel like that's just an excuse that some of these reviewers say just to help justify the smaller engine vehicles. That's not why you should look into this, honestly. Like the V8, it's balanced enough. I don't know, some people like to autocross these things. I mean, go ahead, do whatever you want. Yeah, go ahead, drive the car, enjoy the car. That's great, I'm glad for you, but whatever floats your boat. If you like that argument, then go ahead. This thing weighs about 3,300 pounds, so not a bad weight figure. It is genuinely a little bit lighter, so I do like that as well. It's about 188 inches long, so quite a long vehicle. It's actually 1 inch longer than that G-Wagon I tested out, that G63 AMG 2015, so that's pretty funny. See, busting this little turn here. Got a little skittish there. That's always fun. I like how this is actually pretty linear power. This doesn't feel like a turbo 4-cylinder or anything like that. A little bit of roll with this. It doesn't have like the track pack or the Magna Rides or anything like that. It's got strut-based suspension up front, multi-link in the rear. Merging onto the highway here. Check out how refined it is, because this is the more daily drivable car, of course. Very quiet and refined vehicle. You know, I'm doing a pretty decent speed right now, and this is actually doing a pretty good job, actually. 10-speed automatic, of course, co-developed with Ford. It's actually doing a pretty decent job of responding to my inputs. Put in the sport mode here. It kind of hovers around 2,000 RPM mark. But yeah, I'm very impressed with how quiet this car is. Okay, it does not utilize double pane glass, of course, but this is one of the most refined vehicles for sure, along with the Dodge Charger and Challenger, because the Charger at least does utilize double pane glass. Got on the manual paddle shifters here. Brakes are very good with this vehicle. You know, the Brembo branded brakes, definitely not necessary here. That's something you get with the 1LT track package edition with the $4,500. You know, that's one of the things you get, upgraded brakes, but these brakes are doing a great job. I guess if you are like hardcore about 4-cylinders and V6s, get the track pack. If you're actually going to autocross it and you're one of those people that think you can feel the little 200-pound difference between the nose, go ahead, get that track package, because it is the most autocross friendly, if you will. Another thing, nobody can really handle or honestly drive the V8s and the high horsepower editions of these vehicles. They're just going to spin out, crash, and die, because you're not race car drivers. Nobody can really handle it. You never have the proper training, whatever. None of us have. So what's going to end up happening is something like this, you can still kind of get it a little bit sideways in the correct weathers and all that, but you can always capture it. Okay, the main reason why I personally love the Camaro, why it's high on my list, one of the vehicles I would personally love to own and drive every day, is because it's got the best chassis. Out of the box, the Camaro is number one, because it's the most balanced. It's the best, literally the best driving vehicle that America has produced, alongside the Corvette, if you will. GM has always done a great job making a fantastic driving vehicle. Yeah, this particular one has some roll in it, but for the most part, it's very good. Pretty explosive power. I'm liking it. You know, it's got that kick at the down low, but it actually revs out progressively like a naturally aspirated vehicle. Love that. But, you know, here's the thing. If you were to get a Mustang, right, it's a vehicle that you need to do some more investing in. Okay, you might have to spend like at least 10 grand getting it to feel right, basically. This, the suspension, the body, everything is calibrated perfectly, just stock from the factory. With the Mustang, you know, I heard from a Mustang owner, you gotta spend some money tweaking the bushings, the suspension, wheels, tires, all that stuff. It's gonna run you about 10 grand to make it feel proper, basically. Rear-wheel drive cars, you can effortlessly drive this car, okay? Capture it when it goes out of hand, and it's very easy to drive. I am not at all intimidated by driving this car. I've driven the Camaro ZL1 of the previous generation, and you know, these are not vehicles I personally find to be intimidating to drive. I can always capture it. You know, those were vehicles that, I think the one I drove was like tuned 600 horsepower to the wheels and all this stuff. And it just was not intimidating. It was the 6-speed Tremec. Now, that's the other thing. You can get a 6-speed Tremec with these 4 cylinders, V6s, all that stuff. If you love manuals, it's one of the best manual transmissions alongside a Miata. These are my 2 most favorite manual transmissions. If you can take advantage of them, please do go ahead. But I get it, some people physically cannot drive a manual transmission, either for health reasons or they simply never learned how to. So this 10-speed is actually pretty good. Even the paddles react decently well. Car rides beautifully. One of the best riding vehicles, even without the Magna Ride. Now, the Magna Ride is amazing, really transforms these cars because it helps with the handling, but also the ride is beautiful as well. Even over the rougher bumps, this was really composed, and I'm telling you, with these all-season tires, it's a nice riding vehicle. Steering has the correct weight, and I did put it in the sport mode, and it's just like it didn't really make a huge difference. It just kind of played with the transmission logic. But other than that, great car, definitely want to look into. But with that, let's go ahead and let's talk about this interior now, shall we? All right, so now that we are parked, let's go ahead and let's talk about this interior now, because I do like the interior of these cars. I think it's not by much, but I feel like the Camaros have the better build quality, especially between the Mustang and this. Yeah, this particular one is all plastic. That's what they use as like this molding for this dash. But I've been in the 1SS, 1LEs, and that had the whole kind of suede interior, and it was really nice actually. So I think these interiors have potential, but I also like the way that these things are kind of laid out. Basically, I like the HVAC system. It's a very cool system that they have going on here to control the fan speeds and also the heating and the cooling and all that stuff. And you have your own separate displays for the temperature and the fan speed. So I love how it's totally separated from the screen here. Now, I will say, okay, this is a far more confined space for sure. Getting in and out of this vehicle a little bit more difficult. And I will say, if you're taller, watch out for this sill up here. So another thing to keep in mind, this is kind of where like the Mustang has a little bit more of an advantage. I feel like it's not quite as cooped up. It has a little bit more space, but I will say headroom is very good in here. If you put the seat all the way back, you have a lot more leg room in here as well, more than the vehicle would suggest. But people always talk about visibility in these vehicles. Honestly, if you have the mirrors set up correctly in this vehicle, it's not half bad. I will say, I mean, yeah, like the rear window, I guess, is pretty bad back there, but I don't know, like the mirrors do a pretty decent job. I don't mind it. Honestly, I thought the C7 Corvette was worse, actually. So that's just my opinion. But another thing, unpopular opinion, but I actually find this to be the Camaro vehicles to be a more fun driving experience than the Corvettes, actually. The C7 and the C8, actually. The C8 was not a fun driving experience for me. I actually really love driving the Camaro. Unpopular opinion, but hey, I get it. I know that the Corvettes are on their own dedicated platform. These are like rental cars or whatever, but hey, I love driving the rental car. I swear to God, this is a very fun driving experience, and I like how even the 4 cylinders continue to keep what makes a Camaro a great, nice, predictable driving experience. That's actually pretty fun. But anyway, back to the interior. You got one-touch auto windows for both these windows here. I will say it's at a kind of a weird angle to access. The ergonomics are a little bit strange here, but whatever. I'm not saying this is an absolute quality interior space. I mean, you know, there's some fitment issues here in certain places. It's not like the epitome of quality, but compared to the Charger Challenger and the Mustang, I think the Challenger is at the top. This is like a close second, and then the Mustang's at the bottom, in my opinion. Mustang gets a few points back because it's got the toggle switches. That's pretty nice. But anyway, you got the window switches. Again, you got the very nice air vents right here, which you kind of twist around, play with, all that good stuff. You have a nice small steering wheel, so it makes the vehicle feel nice and precise. I do like that. It got paddle shifters here as well. Plastic, cheap paddles, but hey, they get the job done. Flat bottom wheel. It's got 160 on the dash there. Got a little helper screen in the middle there. Very easy to access and to understand. Nothing complex, nothing stupid going on. Just the way I like it. Very good. I like the screen. This is their newer screen that they use basically, and it's great. And it's got Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and I know they actually upgraded to like a wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Not sure if that applies to these base models or if that's standard across the board. Have to look into that. Maybe you guys can tell me about that. But anyway, I like the screen, but I don't get why it's like pointed down. It's kind of a strange way to align this, but anyway, whatever. Screen works great. It's quick to respond, all that good stuff. You have a nice little backup camera here as well. It's definitely a higher quality screen than the Chargers and Challengers, but everybody likes the way the infotainment works on that Uconnect, so there's that. But harder to get into. I mean, if you're a larger individual, Challenger is going to be the car for you. Very easy. These seats are incredibly comfortable, and they help with this vehicle to not be fatiguing on longer roads. No sunroof here. That's good because it keeps the rigidity of this chassis. Rear seats, pretty worthless. It's mainly used as a shelf for storage, basically. But I will say you can actually fold down those seats. Again, the Mustang, it gets the practicality points because it kind of sits in between the Charger, Challenger, and the Camaro. It's not as hardcore to drive as a Camaro, and it's not as comfy and plush as the Charger and Challengers are. So Mustang kind of sits in the middle. But at least I can fit behind in the Mustang, and the trunk opening in the Mustang is much wider. That's the problem with this Camaro. The trunk size is good, but the opening is not. What's my overall thought? It's definitely a buy. If you're younger, if you can't afford the fuel on a V8, or if you just naturally drive a lot and you just want a cool looking ride, this will do it. This is comfortable, quiet, refined, and it's plenty quick. It's just not inspiring to listen to. So I love the driving dynamics. I like how predictable it is. It's one of the best rear-wheel drive cars that you can kind of start out with.